Hi, Neve.
Hi.
Nice to see you.
Thank you. Nice to see you.
Where in Canada from here?
Born in Guelph, grew up in Mississauga and Toronto.
And how often do you get back here?
I was here a couple of weeks ago up in Muskoka. I get here about 3-4 times a year.
Oh, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
So you still feel Canadian?
Absolutely.
Right. Anything you do when you come back outside of like seeing family? Do you have a ritual or anything?
I get bit by mosquitoes a lot at the cottage.
An important Canadian. That's one of the heritage moments, I believe. It's getting bit by mosquitoes,
Exactly.
sitting and trying to enjoy an Alexander Keith's by the lake.
Exactly.
I really love this film. I found it very, very powerful.
Great.
And I can't imagine what it's like to actually be in it. I just want to start here. The film is about, obviously, a major public health crisis happening both in America and in Canada right now. But it feels like something we're only just beginning to start talking about. Growing up, was opioid abuse something you heard about?
No, not as a child. No, absolutely not.
No, it is funny. Is it something that you gained more empathy or more perspective from making this film?
Yeah, I mean, I certainly was aware of it before I was sent the script. But when I was sent it, I was really happy that it was being made. I thought it was a really important subject matter and certainly wanted to be a part of helping to tell that story.
You play a parent to two young kids in this film. So you are personally a parent to two young kids.
I am,
in this film, you play a mother who is terminally ill and can't protect for her child. I mean, I have to imagine that's an interesting experience for you.
Really, it's interesting as an actor, you pull things from your life in order to play the character. And I certainly feel, I've played mothers before, but as a mother now, it's a completely different experience. And certainly, I have two sons, and putting myself in the place of this woman who has to imagine departing her child, it was a tough journey to imagine. It was hard to put myself in that place. I mean, because I could imagine very clearly how devastating that would be. It was challenging. I got home from making this picture and I cried for days.
Is that so?
Yeah, and I knew it was intense. I knew it was an intense experience, but I don't think I realized quite how intense. It's a great film and it's so important. And, obviously there was a lot of conversation about this epidemic, this genocide in a sense. And the tragedy of, 500,000 people now have died of this crisis. And, so preparing for the film, I watched a lot of documentaries, so you're witnessing a lot too. And, I don't know. It was hard to separate myself, and I think important not to. And then good to sort of come down from it after the film. But yeah.
But how do you do that? How do you come down from it after the film?
Cry a lot.
Yeah, I guess so. Hey?
Cry a lot, and then try and spend time with my children and do fun things with them, and process it, and stop watching the documentaries for a minute. Be with my family and my loved ones.
Did they know about the role?
Yeah, well, my kids know. My eldest son is 7 and the youngest is 18 months, so it might be a little bit too.
Might be a bit hard to explain to the 18-month.
God, mom's really intense.
Yeah. Here's why mom's been crying.
I don't know if I'm ready for that yet.
But I never thought about that. I guess. I mean, I try not to ask too many questions like this, but I guess if you are a mother and you're playing a mother going through a situation like this, it's going to change things for you on the way out.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it makes sense. I mentioned earlier that this is part of a string of different roles for you. Here's a clip of another one.
Your assertion is that the president was unaware of what was happening in his own White House.
Honestly, he was quite busy campaigning.
But surely he knew the effects of Mr. McCallum's work, these exploits.
No. The president, and I've been with him out on the stump, he likes to shake hands. He's not paying attention to social media.
That's Neve Campbell, Canadian actor, on season 5 of the Netflix show House of Cards. My name's Tom Power. This is Q. I heard that after you played that character, reporters started to ask you about politics for the first time in your career. Is that the case?
Yeah. It's like suddenly I'm a pro. It was interesting for me. Coming from Canada and learning the politics here, and then going to America, learning the politics there, and then I lived in England and tried to learn the politics. I was kind of all over the map.
There's nothing going on in the politics in England.
Nothing at all, or in the States,
or in Canada.
Or in Canada, right, exactly. Right. No, but it is funny how people suddenly think you're a pro at what you're playing. But it was a very interesting set to walk on. CNN was playing in the hair and makeup trailer every day. Even the crew were very much aware of everything that was going on the Hill, because it was so much a part of the story that we were telling. And Beau Willimon, certainly the creator of the show, really had his ear to the ground and, direct phone calls with Washington while he was telling the stories. And it was, it's very strange that show sort of jumped the gun on stories that happened, 8 months later every time we seemed to put them out. So it was an amazing show to work on. Unfortunate outcome
Yeah.
in the final season. I was not involved in the final season, but I feel for that cast and the audience, because there was no way it was going to be great, the final season, because you can't lose a lead character and be able to tell the story in the way that it should have been told. But I think it was great for the cast to be able to at least finish it out, and for the audience to at least have an ending to the story.
It is funny when you told me that people get you confused with being like, when you play a politician on TV, people assume you know an awful lot about politics. Yeah. I think I read that differently when I was reading about you. I read it as all of a sudden you went from being asked questions about Party of Five or being asked questions about, maybe when's your birthday and what's your favorite balloon to maybe more substantive questions about politics and stuff like that.
Well, certainly. And that's lovely. I think it's always nice when people start to see you for more than your original roles. But I did find it humorous, to be honest, that, even when I went to D.C., the cast would go to D.C. and we were like rock stars there. Because I think the people over there really enjoyed watching the show too. So I don't know.
It's similar to Castle on the Ground. Did this make you, doing a role like that, make you reflect differently on our political system or anything?
I think there was no way not to be reflective on the political system at that time while I was shooting anyway. They were going through the election, going through the campaign. So I think every American was half the Americans were paying attention. I think all of Canada, most of the world were paying attention. So we were certainly immersed in it a little bit more deeply, but everyone was involved.
So at the beginning, before we turned the microphones on, I mentioned to you that I had a surprise for you.
Yeah.
And you tried to guess what it was. What was your guess?
I thought you were going to bring out like an episode of Catwalk.
So what you're going to hear is not from Scream.
Okay.
It's not from The Craft. It's not from Catwalk.
Okay.
It's not about a Coca-Cola commercial with Bryan Adams. It's not.
Okay.
We went a little deep. Take a listen.
Oh, no.
Reed, I gotta get out of here.
There's nothing in there to be afraid of.
No, you don't understand. I hate closed places. It's the room that scares me.
Neve Campbell.
Is that Are You Afraid of the Dark? Yeah. I've not seen it. I've never seen the episode.
14 when you were in I'm Afraid.
I think I was 15.
14 or 15.
Yeah.
You've never seen your episode?
I've never seen it.
Do you have it?
No.
No, we're not going to play. We're not going to play it for you. We'll send it to you later.
Oh, thank you.
By the way, what
Just to put me in my place.
What a reaction to can we show it to you? No.
We all have those things we want to keep in the closet, honestly.
By the way, the name of the episode that you were in is called are you ready? Mm-hmm. The Tale of the Dangerous Soup.
People love that show.
Oh, yeah.
People love that show. I go to these Comic-Cons sometimes, and there's a massive audience for that show. Like, people who can quote every single line from my episode.
Look out there with the woman with the hand in there. She is a
we'll talk later.
She's one of those Are You Afraid of the Dark super fans
That's great.
out there. But I feel like that episode did air at a pivotal time in your life because it was just before Party of Five and just before Scream. What was your biggest ambition at that age?
Dance. I was going to be a dancer. I was in Phantom of the Opera was my first job here in Toronto, which was an incredible experience. And I really thought that dance was going to be the thing, and then I just had a lot of injuries.
I'm sorry.
No, it is. Listen, I'm okay.
Yeah.
I've ended up all right. And the truth is, at this age, I'm about to be 46. I wouldn't be dancing anymore, and I don't know what I'd be doing. It's hard. Dancers are athletes. It's a hard journey, and it's a quick one. So I'm actually really glad that I was able to, as an artist, find something else that I was passionate about creatively.
But it is such a tender age to lose that kind of.
Yeah, absolutely. But like I said, I was very lucky to jump into work and get work where it kept me busy, and I didn't have to lament it too much. It was hard though. The first really 10 years after I stopped dancing, I couldn't listen to classical music, couldn't go see dance performances because it was too painful. It's it's interesting that. And then I got to make the company, and that really helped me. It really helped me feel as though I'd sort of come to a full circle with it and, done something with it.
Right,
finished something.
Because it's a film about dance.
Yeah.
And a friend of mine who actually works on this show wrote an essay about that one time, about how she was also a dancer, a ballet dancer. I think she suffered some sort of injury. I don't know what yours was, but she suffered some sort of injury. And then she went back for like a rec ballet class to kind of go in and try it out.
Just
and,
exercise it
after,
out.
After she had gotten a bit older. And
Yeah.
she said it was actually quite moving for her.
Good.
Have you been back at the...
I haven't. You know, I've actually just in the last few weeks spoke to another dancer who was a principal dancer at City Ballet and New York City Ballet, and we were talking about maybe venturing into a class on a Wednesday and like
Would that be hard?
trudging
Would that be
through.
hard for you?
Oh, it'd be so hard. I mean, it wouldn't
Not
emotionally,
just physically.
It wouldn't emotionally be hard for me anymore. I'm older. I get it. I'm not that anymore. I don't have any expectation that I would ever be able to be at the level that I was, and certainly I haven't been doing it. I also had spine surgery a year and a half ago, so I'd have to be careful in the class anyway. It would really just be to hear the piano and do bar and enjoy it and have a laugh, to be honest. But yeah, no, the company was really the thing that helped me sort of finish with it.
What do you know now that you wish you had known back then?
Not to take any of it too seriously. I think it's hard when you're young. You're just so fearful of judgment and getting it right and what people say. And I think I'm a bit more daring now. Not that I wasn't daring when I was young, but I think I'm more daring with my performances. Like, I'm willing to fall on my face. And I just don't read articles. I don't read press at all. It's too hard. And certainly the internet can be really cruel. So, it's not helpful anyway. If you believe in what you did and you feel like you've done a good job or, at least exercised something and told a story in the way that you wanted to, I think that should be enough. And hopefully some people get something out of it.
I don't want to be presumptive here, and again, I don't want to be some sort of like armchair psychoanalyst. I do get like a calmness from you. Like I feel like because I think about your career, because you were on one of the biggest shows of all time on Party of Five. You've gone and Scream is like the biggest movie in the world, and then I mean these are things that can either haunt you.
Yeah.
I mean not to be.
No, you're not to terrify me. Go home and cry into my pillow tonight.
Not to bring home Scream is what I meant. Not to be haunt you in literal sense. They can either haunt you or they can kind of follow you around. But you seem like you've kind of been through it and you've kind of come out on the other end of it. Ambition-wise and career-wise and all that stuff.
Yeah, I think there certainly was a period of time after the first few Screams were out and I was in LA and all I was getting was offered horror films and nothing was happening in the way creatively that I wanted, and I was hiding in my house because the fame was at a level that was jarring. And I moved to England and I just did some theater and I went and watched a lot of theater and learned a lot, I think, and just worked and experienced life over there. And then came back and had my first child. The intention was to work and then got pregnant, and my agents were like, that's not what we meant by come back to America. But it took a couple of years off with Caspian, my son, and then, was lucky that the things that I chose and also came to me were, Mad Men, a bit of Grey's Anatomy, then House of Cards. And that was the quality of work I had been hoping to do 10 years before. So for me, maybe I needed that break. I needed to go and learn. I needed to just step away. I needed people to forget about my other work for a minute. So actually, maybe it all worked out exactly as it was meant to.
So what's your relationship with nostalgia now? Because I have to admit, I was a little nervous reading the beginning of that introduction for you, where I kind of talked about you in the frame of the 90s. It made me a little bit nervous.
Yeah.
But needless to say, it is a big part of your life and a big part
absolutely.
of your legacy. Like, what's your relationship with nostalgia now?
I'm going to a Comic-Con this weekend with all but one of the entire first cast of Scream and The Craft this weekend in a couple of days, and I don't know whether to be excited or terrified. But I'm actually really excited. It's going to be fun. I think, those movies did great things for me. I was very, very lucky. I'm really grateful for them. They were an absolute blast. I worked with wonderful people. Wes Craven was phenomenal. The Craft meant a lot to a lot of people, which I never expected. It's not the kind of thing I would have thought, making a movie about witches, But it's nice to be acknowledged for things that touch people somehow, or that they really loved, or that they look back on, or they say, I watch it every Halloween because it's a blast. And any resentment that I may have had for moments in my life, where maybe at times when I was only getting offered horror films, it's gone. Like, that's gone. I'm really just grateful for it.
Well, that's what I was getting at earlier. Not to yell at you here, but that's kind of what I was getting at earlier. Was when I said I'm getting the sense of calm and peace off you. I think that's what I meant. I mean, when people are in big movies like that, or you get a horror movies, you can find. I mean, it's no different than a band refusing to play their biggest hit.
Right. No, I'm just grateful for them, honestly.
Yeah.
I had a lot of fun, and the cast were great. The writing was great. People loved them. There's nothing to be negative about.
Are you the kind of person to look back or forward? Are you...
Yeah, I think that's natural, isn't it? We all do. But I like to look forward. I like mostly to be here, to be right here.
On CBC?
Yes, exactly. Right here with my mug of water and this microphone. No, but it's that
and
thing
young
of just
Fred
trying to
Penner
be
talking
present.
to me.
Exactly.
No, you mean the present.
Yeah, the present. I really enjoy my kids, my family, and having that time with them. And I don't worry about much else. And if I get to be creative once in a while, that's fantastic. And I am an artist, and I do need to go out and do that. But I also really just enjoying being a mom.
Well, on that, I know there'll be a riot if I don't ask you about this. There's the Party 5 reboot happening.
It is,
Are
yeah.
you going to do something on that if they ask you to?
They have not asked. I don't know that it would make sense that they would. I think the concept is fantastic. I don't know if you've heard what the concept is. With our characters, our parents had died. And in this new series, the parents are not dead. They've been sent across the border because I think they're Mexican. The family is Mexican. So it's like their parents are dead. They can't get to them. They can't be with them. And I think it's really strong and very timely. So I hope they get it right, which I imagine they would. It's the same creators and writers. So I think they'll do a good job with it, and I look forward to seeing it.
Well, it's been so nice to talk to you. Congratulations on the film.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming in.
Thank you so much.